Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of e-learning. It's fun that it's a series. I like it. My name is E from the E in the e-learning. And if I sound a little tired, it's because I am. I just got off an 8-day work week of standing in the sun without shade for hours and hours on end. So I'm very tired. My body's tired. My body is burnt because however much I try to apply sunscreen as much as I could, occasionally the universe had other plans. So don't do that if you're going to go outside in this heat, if you're European or live somewhere hot. Yeah, put sunscreen on, drink enough, stay in the shade, do everything that I didn't do this week. But I was thinking today, while I was at work, I was thinking about what I could do for this episode. And I remember that, like, on Tumblr and stuff, a lot of people, sorry, Jesus, a lot of people send me questions that are, like, kind of related to life in a bit, or, like, it's related to, how did you know this, or how did you figure out this, or something. And, I don't at all want to pretend that I know 100% what I'm talking about. I haven't figured out much of life yet. But I do think that I have stories to tell or things to relate to. And I think a lot of people that, if you're listening to this right now and you have stuff that you kind of haven't figured out yet or things that you struggle with, I hope that I can give you some perspective, maybe, or, you know, different way to look at things or a way to kind of put things into context for yourself, I guess. I know that in previous Q&As and stuff I've also talked about life, so I might repeat myself for things, but I don't mind. I hope you don't mind either. But yeah, so I kind of had a weird thing at work yesterday, and people in the Patreon chat know what I'm talking about, but I basically had a kind of incident at work with a guy who was not being a team player. And we needed to be a team in that moment because it was very busy and it was hectic, and lives are at stake. I don't want to be overly dramatic, but we need to work together as a unit, and he was putting himself out of that actively. And everyone was kind of aware of it and kind of complaining about it to each other, but no one was really doing anything about it. And in that moment, I am the type of person to step up and speak up about it. I'm the type of person where if I see something that's not going right and I know that it could be better if I just did XYZ, then I'm going to do that. And then I'll take the brunt for it later. So I called him out. I called him out on it. And I didn't even call him out. I wasn't aggressive or anything, but I just said, hey, I would really appreciate it if you did this. And he freaked out on me, started like yelling at me in front of everyone, and started calling me names and stuff like that. And I was like, whoa, like I was so like taken aback by his reaction because he wasn't from 0 to 100. And he was in the wrong because I was just calling him out on doing something that he objectively shouldn't have done. But it got me thinking a little bit about who I am as a person and whether that is a good thing or a bad thing. Because everyone at work kind of had my back on it. Everyone, witnessed him yelling at me and stuff too. And so everyone was kind of like, that's so not okay. Had a meeting with my boss and stuff. He's, on my side. Everything's fine. But it kind of got me thinking because it's kind of what I just said earlier with like me. I want to speak out if something happens and stuff. And I talked to my dad about it yesterday. I was explaining to him what had happened. And his response was like, why do you have to be the one to speak out about it? And I'm like, well, if I don't do it, no one is doing it. So I'm gonna. And as I said that, I was like, that is like a big thing in my life, that when I feel like something is going wrong and I have a voice to change it, even if it's not my place, I'm still going to try to do it. And in the past, there have been moments where people didn't appreciate me speaking out because they're like, stay in your lane. And that really kind of, yeah, I don't know if that's a good trait or a bad trait. I don't know if that's like arrogance or wanting to be efficient. Does that make sense? I don't consider myself an arrogant person, but I've been called arrogant in the past. And that was one of the things that he said yesterday to me too. He's like, you arrogant bitch. And I was like, am I arrogant for speaking? And I'm not looking for sympathy here. Don't leave a comment being like, oh my God, like that's not what I'm asking for. I'm fine. But it just got me thinking of like, is that a good thing to kind of want to stick your neck out? Because if you're a person who sticks their neck out, you're gonna get smacked. So yeah, it got me thinking. But I do have to say, and I told my colleagues this, I told my boss this as well, like, I'm not going to apologize for wanting the situation to be better, because everyone sees that this is going wrong, sees this guy do something, and then we're all like standing there talking to each other like, what is he doing? What is he doing? And I'm like, this is so typically human of us to kind of see something and then just kind of discuss amongst ourselves or like gossip about it or talk about it instead of actually trying to fix the problem, because it's easy to, stand on the sideline and watch and judge, but because then you don't have any responsibility for it if you can watch it. But as soon as you actively try to help or try to make a difference about it, then you become involved. And if you're involved, that means you can get burnt. I think that's the main thing why people aren't like, hey, get your shit together, People just like to judge and watch. It's safe. We like safety as humans. It makes sense. But that's what, like, someone asked me about this too on Tumblr a couple of days ago. I don't remember the exact question, but I remember the answer that I gave was something like, you need conflict. You need conflict in your life to learn and to be a better human being. I think my response was basic. Okay, I remember now. Sorry. I think the question was like, how do you navigate writing relationships? And I think my response was something like, you can't be afraid of conflict. But conflict, and this is the reason why I'm talking about it, is because it's very parallel to real life. Conflict doesn't mean screaming. Conflict doesn't mean a fight. Conflict means that people have different visions about stuff. Means that people maybe dislike each other or maybe just, see something differently. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It can just be that I want to go right and you want to go left. That is conflict. People are so afraid of conflict. People are so afraid of speaking out or of hurting each other's feelings or advocating for themselves because they don't want to cause conflict. But conflict is where you grow. The response that I gave was, and for the question of like, how do I write relationships? I don't want to steer clear of conflict. Because the thing is, people want to be happy, but happiness is a state. And learning is a process. And those things are not compatible in a sense. I'm not saying that you can't be happy and learn, but being happy is being content. And being content means this is what you need. This is all you need. This is, this is your stasis. I'm happy with what I've got. I went to the casino, I won big, I'm happy, I'm going to cash out. I don't need any more. I'm satisfied. But learning and growing is an active process that moves those boundaries. You don't need to be happy in order to learn. So when it comes to writing, there's so many parallels to real life. And it's so funny to me that cars interrupt me. All right, I'm not going to be too mad. It's okay. It's my fault for having a window open. Um, I find that a lot of the things that I write, or when I talk about writing, or the process of writing, or the theory behind it, or whatever, I find that a lot of the things that I talk about are parallels to human psychology, which makes sense because we're writing humans or humanoid. Um, so in that sense, I'm like, you need to have an understanding of life to a certain degree in order to write well. Um, and I'm not saying that I have an excellent grip on that, but I am saying that I continuously work on trying to learn and trying to be better. And I'm not satisfied with where I am. I don't think I'm ever going to be satisfied with where I am. Um, so I guess it all kind of depends on your definition of happiness. But for me, happiness is being content. And I don't know. I feel like I don't know if I'm ever going to be happy in that sense. I think I'm always going to have to want to know more and learn more and be aware of what I have yet to uncover or something. Um, but one of the things that I was thinking about earlier, when I was considering what to do for this, is I wanted to talk about empathy as well. Um, I feel like people, okay, let me know if any of what I'm saying right now relates to you in any sort of way. Like when you listen to this, you're like, that is so me, right? Um, if you're a person who really understands or tries to understand the other side of things, if you're like, I see a video of like something happening online and I sob because I'm like, this is so sad. And like someone else being uh, done wrong or something makes you angry. Secondhand embarrassment is very, very tangible for you. When you see something that I really, really struggle with is, those stories of like, oh, I had a birthday party and like no one showed up. Or like, there was this movie, I'm never going to forget it. There's like a scene, it wasn't a movie, it was a TV show here. And it was like an old man. And he brought like a cake for everyone to eat. It was like a meeting or something. And he brought a cake for everyone to eat and he homemade it. He baked it himself and no one ate from it. And he just kind of had to like wrap it back up and like take it home himself. That breaks me. That kind of shit breaks me. And that's because, empathy, it's not like I'm like introducing a brand new thing, but empathy is one of the most precious things that exists within us. And lately, so like with everything that's going on with social media being a thing and AI being a thing, where we generate happy birthday messages to each other and shit, and all of the humanity and the empathy is leaking out of us day by day. Um, and we can't help it. Just, to be clear, we can't help it. Um, it's exhausting to be empathetic nowadays. It's exhausting to constantly log in and see everything that happens. I don't know if I've talked about this, but like biologically, when humans first, you know, evolved or came out of a rib or whatever you want to believe, when humans were first made or created, we had our tribes. We had our, back when we were Neanderthals and stuff, we had our tribes, our small groups that we functioned in. And biologically, the animals and stuff that we are closest to, we all have relatively small packs, groups, hordes, whatever you want to call it. We as human beings are meant to be in small groups. If you look back at like 200 years ago, when we were, and I might be speaking with a Eurocentric vision on this, feel free to correct me, but we had the village. You had a village, and you had a baker, and you had a priest, and you had a doctor. You had everything like that. And it was a small town, and everyone knew about everything. Everyone knew, like, it's a small town, everyone cares about each other, this and that. And then things started growing, and then you got cities, and then you got a lot of people living on not a whole lot of land. And eventually, your tribe, your village, that used to be 10, 50, 100 people, grew bigger and bigger and bigger. And nowadays, our village is 8 billion people. We are so connected to every single person on this planet that we have an infinite access to other people's pain, to other people's misery, to other people's joy as well, that we as human beings are not built for. We are not meant to be processing this amount of tragedy, of pain, of and again, even the positives as well. Like, I'm very happy that I scroll on TikTok and I see a video of a baby being born in Yemen, but I biologically was not meant to be experiencing that. And so that is part of what is happening, I feel, is that our empathy is so burnt out because we're not meant to be having this amount of empathy. We're not meant to be knowing constantly about all the bad stuff that goes on in the world. That doesn't mean we have to be blind to it, but it just means that, we used to have a small group of people to care about. And now we have to carry the whole world on our shoulders every single day as soon as we open up every fucking app that exists. And it sucks. Because what happens is when empathy burns out, it changes into bitterness. It changes into, why do I have to listen to all of this? Why can't people just, care about me? Why do I always have to care about everyone else? Why do I always have to know about everything? And we become egocentric. And but biologically, we're not meant to be on our own. We are not solo animals. We are pack animals. We carry each other, but the sensory overload that is living in this current year or existence or era or whatever you want to call it, it makes a shortcut on a lot of stuff. It makes us go to ChatGPT to very quickly write an email. It makes us go to, generate an image of me and my friends taking a selfie instead of just going fucking out and doing it ourselves. And then sending it into the group chat to be like, haha, look, so everyone can go, haha. That's it. That's what we've been reduced to. And it's so profoundly sad because we deserve so much better. We deserve to have lives where we are cared for. We deserve to have a village, a tribe where everyone cares about each other and back. That's what we're made for. And it's just taking away from us. But I think, to me, that's kind of what life is about. in a big way, to fight through that want of giving up on empathy. It's kind of to plow through that mud of negativity and overstimulation and everything, and choosing to care instead of just accepting that we're all going numb. It's to choose kindness. And I know that sounds so fucking cliche, and I hate myself for saying it, but it's so true. To wake up in the morning and to choose that you're going to be good for people, when it's so easy to just choose yourself. And I'm not saying that you can't be selfish every now and then. I'm not saying that you can't advocate for yourself. I'm not saying you have to give up on everything just to please other people. On the contrary, the more that you care about yourself, the less that other people have to carry, crudely speaking. If you can carry a lot of your own weight and you don't always have to, involve other people in it, you're lighter to carry for other people. You gotta be your own best friend in life. That's not sad at all. It's just reality. That, I know for a fact that I've talked about this before. No one in life is ever gonna spend as much time with you or love you or know you the way that you know, love, and spend time with yourself. So you might as well like yourself. Because what the fuck else are you gonna do? Imagine being like in prison and you need to share your cell with someone else. It sucks, you're locked in this place with this person. Are you really going to spend energy on hating that person? Are you really going to spend all your time just fucking everything they're doing, criticizing it, annoying yourself, wasting energy on it? Why would you? Make the best out of it, right? You got to make the best out of being with yourself. And I'm not going to say that I don't have issues with myself. I have issues with myself. Sometimes I look in the mirror and I'm like, Jesus Christ, why would I bother? I'm sorry to everyone who has to look at me today. But guess what? You're the only you're ever going to get. You can change your clothes, you can lose weight, you can gain weight, you can whatever, but it's still going to be you. If you look at yourself and you're like, man, if only I was 20 pounds lighter, 10 kilos lighter, whatever. If only I worked out more, if only I had more muscles, if only my hair would be less this and that. Yeah, well, guess what? You can go through all the hard work of changing to what you think is going to make you happy, but it's not going to make you fucking happy. I'm really sorry. It's not. Because happiness is a state. Remember? Happiness is a state. It's not something dynamic. You can say, I choose to be happy. You can be happy. You aren't continuously happy. That's not how happiness works. And you're going to think that one thing is going to fix every issue you have. Oh, if only I would lose weight, that would make me be more attractive. Oh, if only I got more fit, that would make me be... No. You are you. You being lighter is not going to make you any less you. You are so much more than the number on a fucking scale, or your hair color, or the amount of freckles that you have, or anything at all. It's you that's got to love yourself. It's you that's got to look in a mirror and be like, okay, you know what? These are the genetic dice that I rolled with, and this is my reality. You can change things. I'm not going to say don't work on yourself. Please, by all means, work on yourself. But it's not going to make anyone outside feel any different towards you if you don't act different towards yourself. So you gotta choose. I know, I know it sounds so easy, but you gotta choose. You gotta choose to be better. You gotta choose to look at yourself differently. You gotta choose to just be satisfied. There isn't a checklist in life. There's not a bucket list of stuff that you can cross out and be like, okay, I did this. Now I look good. Now I look happy. Now I'm done. There's no done. That's the that's it's a good thing. It's such a good thing that we're never done. Could you imagine? Could you imagine like it's like a fucking game or something that you just have like, okay, I need this achievement and then I have 100%ed life. What the fuck would we be doing? There's no checklist. There's no achievements. Just do what you want to do. But you got to you got to choose that you want to do it. And most of all, and to circle back to it, but it costs exactly the same amount of energy to be kind to someone than to be mad at them. If anything, being mad causes more energy because your heart rate's gonna go up and you're gonna be all tense and shit. Like, that guy was yelling at me yesterday, and I could have yelled back. It was my 7th day straight in the sun. I was in pain. I was tired. I didn't have a lot of patience. I could have ripped him a new asshole, but that wouldn't have helped me. I felt bad for him. I felt bad that it got to a point where he got so broken that whatever I said just unleashed this wave of emotions, and I just happened to be in the crossfire. I knew that what he said to me didn't make sense. I know myself better than to listen to what he had to say about me. So I didn't listen. So I just wanted him to be like, I just told him like, go sit down for a sec. Like, go be in the shade. Go, calm down. Calm down. My kids can't hear me because they're listening to Kids Bop. Just, be chill, bro. I didn't want to start throwing punches. I thought he was going to punch me. I was like, ooh, imagine that in front of everyone. But I chose to be patient with him. I chose to want to have empathy for him. And I feel like that's a skill that you can learn. I feel like that's a muscle that you can train. When something happens, that you don't default to, what the fuck is this guy's problem? But that you default to, okay, why is this happening? Maybe that barista just had a really, really fucking bad day. And they didn't mean to take it out on me. But in order to do that, you need to have I was going to say self-worth, not even that. You need to know yourself. Yesterday, that guy called me an arrogant cunt, and I was like, I am neither of those things. So what you say just simply isn't true. I had a moment of reflection about it. I was like, okay, what did I look arrogant? Did I sound arrogant? Did what I said, or the reason why I said it, or the way of how I said it, could it have been construed as arrogant? My conclusion was no. So that was the end of the story for me. I was like, okay, you're just acting up. You can't let it get to you. No one knows you like you. So don't give them the benefit of getting to dictate what you feel about yourself. If you know that it's not true, then that's your truth. That's how you can armor yourself against all the bullshit that happens nowadays because people don't have empathy anymore. You gotta be your biggest fan. And everything is gonna go easier once you try to be kind to yourself. And it's a process. Again, I'm not sitting here pretending that I have everything figured out and that I don't wake up sometimes or see myself and think, Jesus, could have handled that better. I'm very aware that I have flaws. I'm very aware that I have flaws that I have tried to work on and haven't been able to figure out yet. But I also feel that I am someone who wants to do better. I'm someone who wants to be a better person and who wants to work on themselves and their flaws and stuff. But again, it's it's not a checklist. I don't have a checklist of flaws that I can just work on and check off and then be a perfect person. No one is. But you got to be happy. You got to choose to be content with what you've got. And you got to work on it. You got to work on the things that don't serve you. Some flaws are silly, some flaws are not. And again, if we, like, say that we did live in a village, say that everyone that is listening to this video right now we all live together in a little town. Hi, welcome to E-Town. I just made myself the mayor. Okay, let's roll with it. Welcome to E-Town. Everyone, we all have some nice streets. We all live in our nice little houses. Everyone has their own thing. If everyone knows everything, and I'm not saying everything, but we gossip and we know, ooh, that person's going through something or this or that. I saw that person fight away, whatever. If you know that you can handle a lot, then you can carry more for other people. But in order to be able to carry a lot, you need to either process your own feelings better, or or you've disabled your own feelings so much that you just help others to try and help yourself, which is an issue in and of itself. But could you imagine how much lighter life would be if we wouldn't have to feel like a burden all the time for just voicing our feelings or venting? I struggle with that a lot. People who, again, in the Patreon chat, they know I've been venting about work and stuff, and I always feel horrible because I'm always like, I don't want to sound like I'm constantly complaining. I'm not, but I feel like it because I feel iffy for taking people's time because everyone's always so nice to me. And I'm like, you don't have to be nice to me. You can save that energy for someone who needs it. I don't need you guys to be nice to me. I like it. I like it when people are nice to me, but my baseline is that I'm more or less content with myself. And so I don't need people to be nice to me in that way. Does that make sense? That sounds weird, doesn't it? That I don't need people to be nice to me. I mean it very sincerely. I'm trying to figure out how to word it better. I'm a person with a lot of process. I process fast. And so, for example, what happened yesterday, it did affect me emotionally. I don't like crying at work, but I was very taken aback by it because I was like, I'm just trying to do a good thing here, and he got so aggressive and so like angry. So I did get like tears in my eyes, but it was more like frustration and anger of like, Jesus Christ, I'm just asking you to get your shit together. And you get defensive and you get mad at me and you get so personal and stuff. And I'm like, why? You know, I didn't cry because my feelings were hurt. And I think that's such an important distinction because, like I said earlier, as soon as he started saying those things to me, I was like, you're wrong. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. I know myself better than that. I know that's not true, so it doesn't affect me. And I have a very quick processing when things happen in that sense, where, and I've talked about this with my therapist, but I skip over my own emotions and I process them very rationally. Like I rationalize my own emotions. And then very quickly, I pivot to the other person's emotions. Like in an instant yesterday, my brain went, "Oh my god, like he finally broke." Cuz he's been annoyed for weeks now. And he's been like at work being like antisocial and being like mad and stuff and he can't wait to quit. And we've been knowing that for months now. And so the second that he started yelling at me, I was like, "Oh no." Like, "Oh, it's hot outside and there's so many people. It's so loud. It's so overstimulating." And he just got overstimulated. I understand. I was talking to my boss, and I was, doing my side of the story. And I was like, but I understand him. I understand that it's loud and it's, I have I have a lot of years experience now, but it's his first few months working there. He doesn't have the experience to manage it. My first summer at that pool, I was a mess. I was constantly overstimulated. I cried a lot going home because I was like, everyone's so loud. There's so many things to watch. You constantly have to yell at people. People yell at you. And I understand that for him, that was crazy. So in that moment, I was like, I understand him. So I'm not mad at him. And that kind of circles back to what I was saying at the start of like, is that fair to me? Because I rationalize his behavior so it doesn't hurt me. But technically, I should have been hurt because he was saying awful things to me. And even like I was talking to one of my colleagues about it today, and she was like, "Oh, when the boss comes in, like when he comes in to talk to you, say how much it affected you. Say that you cried, say that you felt emotional about it because that's going to wake him up to how serious it was." And I'm like, "But I mean, yes, but my feelings weren't hurt." I was thinking like, "Man, imagine if he'd done that to like someone else, someone younger, someone more like less experienced, someone who's more like emotionally unstable in that sense. Like they would have cried. They would have, I mean, I did cry, but like, they would have been like affected by it." That's the thought that like bothered me about that whole thing. That's what frustrated me. Not that he said those things because they weren't true. So is that fair to myself that I over rationalize other people's situation or other people's words, because that kind of means that nothing that people say I allow myself to be mad at or something. That's basically what I said to my therapist. I was like, I don't usually experience negative emotions a lot. I like making jokes. I like keeping things light. I can be serious when I want to, or when I need to, rather, but I don't get mad very quickly. I don't get angry. I don't get sad very quickly. Because whenever something happens, my brain always goes, okay, but, they didn't mean it that way or whatever, or, maybe their dog just died and they're upset or whatever, so don't take it personally. And then I don't. And then I'm like, but those emotions deserve to be felt. So why am I not allowing myself to, like, that would be the first thing I would say to someone. It's like, hey, don't, you know, Don't shy away from being angry every now and then. Don't shy away from being sad. All emotions are emotions that deserve to be felt. There's no need for repressing emotions. That, doesn't help anyone. You can't be, happy-go-lucky, joy all the time. Everyone needs to feel down every now and then because that's conflict. Everything just circles back to conflict, doesn't it? Internal conflict, external conflict. But what do we know about conflict, everyone, all together? It makes you learn, it makes you grow. So even if you're in conflict with yourself, you're going to become a better person out of that. You're going to know yourself a lot better. You can have discussions with yourself. It's a nice little, you can talk to yourself if you want. Maybe not at a bus stop, but yeah. Listen, I'm a constant learner. That's also partially why, I said at the start, that's why I started this series as well. I wanted to learn. I like learning. I like learning about myself. I like learning random things. I like general knowledge. I like rabbit holes, stuff like that. But I also like learning about other people. I like listening to people. I like listening to people's stories. I like empathizing with people. I feel like, and this is not me being arrogant, but I feel like I'm someone who's very trained in empathy because of all the reasons that I just listed. So being empathic doesn't feel like a burden to me. I can listen to people vent for hours and not have it drain me. And that is a superpower to have that I'm very aware of. Doesn't always have to be advice. Sometimes someone just needs to talk and you just want someone to listen, and not have to feel like a burden for just voicing yourself. So if I can do that for other people, then that's huge. So that's what I try to do. That's the choice that I make. And that I try to make over and over again. I try to be better for myself and for other people. And you can too. I'm not saying it's easy to love yourself or to try and be open to other people. But I'm saying it does get easier if you do it. As soon as you open that door to kind of loving yourself just a crack, then some draft comes through, and then before you know it, the door's open. There are 2 doors. Yeah. I think I'm gonna kind of end it here. I love talking about this kind of stuff. Don't get me wrong. But I don't want to keep talking in circles and stuff. And I'm very excited to hear about what you guys think, what you guys feel, if this resonates with any of you. And yeah, if there's one, TLDR tidbit of this thing that I want you to remember, it's that being kind is not the easy choice, but it's the right choice. And it's because it's not the easy choice, that's what makes it the right choice. Because we gotta put energy towards ourselves and towards other people. That's what we deserve. I love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.